This is a flipped video for using the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations that are written in standard form. So in the past we've had two methods for solving quadratic equations. One, we had the one where we rewrite them in terms of their factor groups. And for this equation on the left we have x plus 3 and x minus 1. And when we solve for this, we set both factor groups equal to 0. So 0 is equal to x plus 3, and 0 is equal to x minus 1. And we solve for x. And this gives us x is equal to negative 3, and x is equal to 1. And this would be our two solutions for this equation. For the second problem, we had no b value. And when there is no b, what we can do is we can simplify by writing it in terms of our x squared. And for this equation, we'll divide both sides by 3. And this leaves us as x squared is equal to 4. And then we take the square root of both sides. And by doing this, we are left with just x on the left side since the squared value and the square root cancel each other out. And then our possible values for x can be both positive or negative too. And so that is our two roots for our second equation. And now in this lesson we are going to be introduced to a new method, which is using the quadratic formula. And so what I have now for you to listen to is a song that I believe will help you remember this new equation. Here goes. Don't forget to sing along. Alright, so there you have it. So our formula for the quadratic equations is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. For this equation, our a value cannot equal 0 since that would give us a 0 in the denominator, and b squared minus 4ac must be a positive number since we cannot have negative numbers under the radical. So let's practice using this equation. So for the first one, we want to label our a, b, and our c values. For this one, since we can't see it, we know that our a value is 1, our b is 5, and our c is negative 6. So when we plug these into our equation, we get x is equal to negative b, or negative 5, plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6 for c, all over 2 times a, or 2 times 1. So what our next step is simply to use arithmetic and simplify our answer. So when we do this, we get x squared is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6 is 25 for the 5 squared, and then negative 6 times negative 4 times 1 is a positive 24. So it's 25 plus 24 over 2 times 1, or just 2. So, simplifying this further, we get negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49. This should have said 24. And that simplifies to 49. And the square root of 49 is 7. So looking here, negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49, or just 7 divided by 2. And so we can leave our answers either like this, or we can notice our two solutions. Our x is equal to negative 5 plus 7, which is positive 2 divided by 2. So 2 over 2 is equal to 1. Or our second solution is x is equal to negative 5 minus 7, which is negative 12 divided by 2, which is negative 6. So our two solutions here are negative 6 and positive 1. Looking at the second equation, again, I want to remind you that these need to be written in standard form. So negative 3x squared plus x, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 5 to both sides of the equation, and that's going to get me 5 on the left side, and then I'm left with just 0 on the right. So now I want to use my quadratic equation, and when I do this, I get 0, or x is equal to negative b, which in this case is negative 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, or 1 squared, minus 4ac. So 4 times negative 3 times 5. And all this whole expression is then divided by 2 times a, or 2 times negative 3. So simplifying this, we get x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus 1 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 5. So that is 1 minus negative 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 times 5 is 60. So we get 1 plus 60, since negative 4 and negative 3 gives us a positive, divided by 2 times the negative 3, which is negative 6. So, at last, we want to then simplify as much as possible. So when we do this, we get x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 60 is the square root of 61 divided by negative 6. Notice that this does not simplify any further unless we wanted to write this as a decimal value. So our two solutions are x is equal to negative 1 plus the square root of 61 over negative 6 and minus the square root of 61 over negative 6. Okay, so this is our third example. So again, our steps should be getting a little bit easier. Notice our a is our 1, b is negative 3, and c is 8. So negative b, so negative 3, we can think of this as the opposite. So the opposite of b is a positive 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 3 squared, minus 4ac, so minus 4 times 1 times 8, divided by 2 times our a value, which is 1. So x is equal to 3 plus or minus a negative 3 squared is a positive 9 minus a 4 times 1 times 8, which is the square root of 9 minus 32 over 2. So note, when we write this, we get x is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 23. Now right away, we need this to note that this is a negative number under our radical, and we don't know how to solve for these. So whenever you see this, we write that our answer has no real solutions. In this class, we are only working with real numbers. So that is our answer for this type of equation. Again, numbers under the radical must always be positive numbers. So looking at our last example, we have 2x squared plus 8x is equal to 1. We need to write this in standard form, and when we do this, we subtract 1 from both sides, giving us 2x squared plus 8x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now, to solve for x, we write our equation. X is equal to negative b, or negative 8, plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times a negative 1. And the whole thing is over 2 times 2. So writing this, we get x is equal to negative 8 plus or minus 64 minus a 4 times 2 times negative 1, which is positive 8. So plus or minus the square root of positive 8 plus 64. So this is 64 plus 8 divided by 2 times 2, which is 4. So our solutions then is x is equal to 8 plus or minus the square root of 72 divided by 4. Since our 72 breaks down into 9 and 8, we can pull out a 3, since 9 is equal to 3 times 3. So we have our two solutions. X is equal to 8 plus or minus 3 square roots of 8 all over 4. So in review, our equations must always begin in standard form. We have the following steps for solving these equations. 1, we label our a, b, and c values once they are in standard form. We plug these into our quadratic formula equation. Then we solve for x to find our root values. For this one, we are not going to round to the nearest 100 value, but leave them in simplest terms. As a reminder, we have the quadratic formula song to help you remember. You can Google this or YouTube quadratic formula to Pop Goes the Weasel to find the video I used for this taping. Also, there is a video to the song Cups, which I also felt was helpful and helps you recognize some terminology that we are going to use later in this unit. Alright, thank you for watching. Don't forget to write your summaries.